What's good? This is Scoot Henderson, and you're listening to the Blazers Balcony with Brooke, Olzendam, and Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blazer fans, and welcome to the Blazers Balcony presented by Spirit Mount Casino. Episode 166 of the Blazers Balcony presented by Spirit Mount Casino. I'm your co-host, Casey Holdahl. I'm joined by my co-host and friend, Brooke Olzendam, in her palatial estate in southwest Portland. They're going to fix the road here in the next couple years. The documentation has been sent. Brooklyn, how are you doing?
Yeah, that's the highlight of my year, is getting that in the mail.
Blazers make the playoffs, and Brooks Road's going to get fixed this summer.
Both of those things are the highlights of my year. No particular order. But that is very exciting news. Now the Ubers that come pick me up won't wait a block away.
Be like, hey, you got to walk out here.
Yeah, which I don't blame them for. But no, I'm great. I mean, we're one day away from home playoff game. I'm so freaking pumped. It's been really fun postseason for the most part. I'm just meaning the NBA in general. I think we might talk about it. Watching CJ the other night was just magical. There've been some really great matchups. Of course, in the first round you get some blowouts, but then those teams have responded pretty well. The teams that have lost. So I live for playoff basketball, and it's all you're like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, what do you mean? What am I doing tonight? I'm watching the playoffs. What else would I do?
Yeah.
Like go outside? Oh no, I would never. So yeah, it's something to look forward to throughout the day. I love it, but the thing I love the most is Blazers playoff basketball. So tomorrow night is going to be electric. I love that it's already sold out, and no surprise, but just love to know that. And I have never been more excited for a game in a long time. This is really, really, really cool for the city, for obviously the team, organization. It's just I can't even. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I've been thinking about it constantly since the last game, which was the greatest game.
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
So my real quick story, my dad went to pick up my son from soccer because I could not I had to watch, right? And so they were driving back and they were taking a while. I'm like, you guys got to get back. It's a game. This is when the Blazers were kind of mounting their comeback, and they were listening to the radio in the car. So they pull up, and it was like the last a couple possessions before the last two possessions, and I look out the window. I'm like, get in here, and they're like, we don't have time. We're just going to listen to the radio, because they've been so excited listening. They didn't want to run in the house and miss anything. So they sat in the car and listened to the end of the game while I watched it from the living room.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Two things there. One, let me get out the ticket messaging right now. Brooke is right. The game has sold out, but there are some standing room tickets still available for Game 3. You're definitely going to want to be there. The arena has to be as loud as humanly possible. It's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. Team needs your help. Pick up tickets for Game 3, and tickets are not yet sold out for Game 4, so please. And then that's a early 12:30 start. You come, you do your pregame, you get all your yelling out. Hopefully the Trailblazers win that game, and then you go about the rest of your day, celebrate, so on and so forth. Ride the max, honk your horn on the way down Broadway, but get into the arena for Game 3, and if not for Game 3, at least for Game 4. The second thing I want to say, and I was talking to a buddy about this the other day as well, because his kids have practice during the Blazer game as well, because it was a 5 o'clock game. Kids should be watching playoff basketball. Your practice can wait. There are already too many practices as it is. Kids nowadays are practicing every single day at the lowest levels. You will learn so much more about competition and sports and teamwork and leadership by watching playoff basketball than you will by having just another practice on a Tuesday night. How much coaching can you possibly give a 12-year-old? How much is enough? How many practices do you have to have? How much do you have to play on traveling teams and so on and so forth? Playoff basketball is important. It's the city needs to get behind the Portland Trailblazers, and part of that is by not having your practice just one day. Just forego it for once. Watch the game. That's what should be important. Kids should be talking about watching the Blazers winning Game 2 the next day in class. They should not be talking about doing karaoke or karaoke. What's that thing where you do the sideways
it's not
thing.
Karaoke.
Well, it's karaoke. I think it's either way, we cancel school for all kinds of things. I don't expect them to cancel school for playoff basketball. Cancel your practice for playoff basketball.
I will tell his head coach that you said that.
Yes,
I'm sure it will
do.
make a big difference.
Yeah, it should. Well, because again, what are you getting out of that?
Well, I mean, they have the state cup coming up, so they're practicing.
One practice is not going to make a difference.
So I'm
and as a matter of fact, you need to there's always a scene in movies, whenever there's like a high pressure situation, there's always the scene where they're like, let's do something outside of actually working on this thing because we're putting so much emphasis on it. We need to get out and kind of let off a little bit of steam. It's the same exact thing about playoff basketball. Let the kids watch playoff basketball.
No, I agree.
I'm a childless adult.
I know.
I'm a childless adult, and I'm telling you what your kids should be doing. And who knows better about what your kids should be doing than a childless adult?
That's so funny. But I will say, I remember like in the living room growing up, memories of play basketball of all teams. I remember them vividly. No, Theo would love to watch it, but he also loves to play soccer. So,
and I'm not trying to get Theo in trouble
no,
here,
he's not.
And I'm also not trying to get my buddy Mike in trouble here either. But I'm just saying, you should be watching playoff basketball. Like I'm serious about that. Like you learn more about you take more from watching a team come together and accomplish something when you care about that team than, again, just another practice. Like, just derive something out of that. That's the last I'll say about that. But yes, game 2, the reason why I'm so passionate about this is the Blazers had lost both games in San Antonio. I probably would have said, you know what, get that practice in. But the fact the Blazers won game 2 in San Antonio to even the series 106-103 for your Portland Trailblazers, setting up a real fantastic game 3, Brooke. And to your point about the playoffs in general, you're exactly right. It has been a very good playoffs so far. Of the 8 series, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are 1-1 right now, which for a first round playoff series is a little unusual. I think a lot of times we're accustomed to seeing kind of some, and Thunder up 2-0. The Rockets, who had just taken a dive down 2-0, and then the Cavaliers also, I don't think people really love the Raptors a whole lot. So that series is 2-0 for Cleveland. But yeah, everything else has, and those have been some good games too. But yeah, like it's just there seems like there's a lot of parity in the NBA this year. And obviously I think the Thunder are kind of the odds-on favorite. But everything below that, I feel like it's like, I don't know, who's to say? Like, a team gets hot, like, a team gets a few things going. If a team has injuries, like, you never know what's going to happen necessarily. So it has been a really good playoff so far, and the Blazers evening that series versus the Spurs at 1-1, I think a big part of that. Again, one of the better games for the Trailblazers in the last couple seasons. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. Since this is the first time they've been back in the playoffs for 5 years, every game that they've played, or they've at least had like 5 games I can think of where at the time we said, this is the biggest Blazers game in the last 5 years. And every single game now, it's like, that is the case. And it's not hyperbole. It's the actual fact that every single time they play now, it is the biggest game in the last 5 years. And that adds an excitement to it. It also is great when the team is playing well, and that's something we talked about, in the lead up to the playoffs, is that the Blazers, by having to really win all these games in order to put themselves in a position to make the postseason, have been playing on an edge for a while now, and I think it's shown. They kind of did it in fits and starts in game 1, which they ended up losing 111-98, but then bouncing back a day later, or 2 days later, I should say, to get the win in San Antonio. Scoot Henderson having the game of his life. 31 points for Scoot Henderson on 11 of 17 shooting from the field, 5 of 9 shooting from 3, 4 of 6 shooting from the line, playing fantastic defense as well. And really a little poetic, I guess you would say, going up against Victor Wembanyama, who, as you certainly all know, sustained a concussion in that game, a scary play. But playing against a guy who was in your draft class, who at the time it was like, is it Scoot or Wemby? And I think, as time went on, it was like, well, Wemby is kind of something completely different. But I think for a guy like Scoot, you want to do well against a guy that was in your class. And he's had some ups and downs in his career. Obviously, with the injury this year, that's been really tough. But for him to come out and have that game in game 2 in that setting, when he's really, I feel like, still trying to prove himself in the league, just such a fun performance to have in that situation, in such an important game. And in a game where they needed everything that they could get from Scoot. So it was just a really fun game. Great to see them pull that one out. And it followed the exact same path of every big game the Blazers have played in the last month, where they go up big and then they give up the lead and then the opponent pushes, and then they're down at least 10 in the fourth quarter. You kind of think, well, okay, I guess that's about it. And then they just kind of stick around, make some plays, get some stops, and then next thing you know, it's a one-possession game, and versus the Timberwolves, versus the Clippers twice, versus the Suns in the play-in, and now versus the Spurs in Game 2. They end up getting it done, getting some big plays, and end up pulling it out, which, again, like they're such a battle-hardened team right now that it really makes you feel good about their chances going forward.
Yeah, no, it was so fun. It was so fun. I mean, it had those moments, as you mentioned, when they were down, I believe it was 14 with around
yes.
6
or 7, yeah.
Where you're like, oh, because in a normal situation, when you're watching just, the average NBA game, it kind of feels like, okay, well, they kind of, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I've thought this before, so you have to have the faith, and gosh darn it. It was just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way. Like, and I was by myself in my living room, so I was jumping around. I did not sit at all of that fourth quarter, but it said so much about the resiliency that they have. We've talked about that a lot, and I hope we will continue to, because they had, not right, but they could have said, that we gave it our best, but this one just feels like it's, seeping through our fingers. But they did not. They just depended on each other, depended on themselves. I mean, they started hitting threes at the most clutch time. Everyone was doing something. Like Rob Williams was unreal. He was so great. And that Denny alley-oop was like, at first I thought he was shooting it. I'm like, oh wow, no, that was planned.
Yeah, no.
And the bench, of course, so supportive. And I love when we have bench shots, because they're just so into it. Donovan especially, I absolutely love. But everyone just kind of did their jobs and put their head down, went to work, and didn't look at the score. And just, I mean, they looked at the score, but they weren't like, oh no, down 14. It's like, okay, we got to make this up. And the defense, I thought, was extraordinary down the stretch.
Yeah.
And they had you talked about it before. They have a ton of talent even without Victor, and they win without Victor also. That's proven throughout the season.
They beat the Blazers twice in 3 tries without Victor Wembanyama.
So they still had a ton of talent, and I love that you mentioned it too, where people are talking about the inexperience that the team has. Well, so do the Blazers, and so, you can go either way with that. But they looked like an experienced playoff team in the way that they responded in that fourth quarter. Scoot was just awesome. And, he has that confidence we talk about all the time. And our friend Zora, who was doing sideline.
Yeah, well, I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's very sweet. If you guys don't remember, she filled in for Kevin one game, and I think it was last year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I've known her for a long time, and she's really sweet. And she texted me, she's like, I just wanted to let you know I'm covering your team tonight. I was like, if there's going to be anyone, I'm glad it's you. I thought that was really nice of her to reach out and be like,
Brooks,
sorry.
I
know.
Post-game interview, but fine.
Fine. Yeah. I appreciate the heads up. But she did a great job. And I just loved that what Scoot had to say. He was just like, that's me. We've talked about it before. He's that dog. And then in the press conference, when someone said, when did you know you had it? And he said, when I woke up.
Yeah.
And then it was funny. They're like, can you elaborate? He goes, well, I woke up. I brushed my teeth.
Well, I woke up.
I got dressed.
Well,
then I walked downstairs.
The sun started to shine through the window, and I kind of opened my eyes real fast and kind of rubbed them, and I was like, "Oh boy, okay, I guess it's time to get up now."
I'm gonna have a good game tonight.
Then I got up and used the bathroom, and kind of looked through my phone for a little bit. Yeah,
so that was really funny.
Yeah, what? How much? Do you really want me to go through the process of what it takes to wake up in the morning?
It was great.
That is pretty funny, and we've talked about that with Scoot. And I mentioned on my other podcast too that Scoot is the same guy regardless. He's young, and so you expect that he's going to kind of be up and down, and when he plays well, he's going to be super stoked, and when he's not playing well, he's going to be really bummed out. That's not who he is. He has done such a good job of being like, I'm the same guy every single day. So for him to answer like that, it's like, yeah, like I think that every day. I get up in the morning and be like, this is going to be my day. Mm-hmm. And that's not him like putting on or trying to kind of like develop a narrative. That's who Scoot is. And, I'd mentioned that he had like a really tough stretch this season, and then he had like a really good game, and everyone was like, oh, Scoot, you must feel so happy to have a great game. And he's like, not really. I'm happy we won, and this is who I am. Like, and I just thought, I remember thinking at the time, like, that's going to really serve him well. And it has, because, when you get to the postseason, there's a lot of pressure. You're down 14 points in the fourth quarter, and you're like, crap, what are we going to do? Like, but when you have the ability to manage your emotions in that way, you can go out and perform in ways that you can't necessarily if you're living and dying by every good game and every bad game and every made shot and every miss. Like, it just doesn't there's a certain ability to flatten those things out that is important in professional sports, and Scoot has that thing. And so it was great to see him go out and have that game. And then, again, live it the way that he always has, which is like, no, this is just who I am. Like, I'm glad that I'm playing well, but I'm going to be the same guy from one day to the next. I also am glad you talked about Rob because he has been so good in this series. I don't know. I think, Scoot was the best player for the Blazers in Game 2. And, in Game 1, I would say probably Denny. Mm-hmm. I think Rob has been the second best player on the team in both those games. And that speaks to, one, Rob's experience and being ready. I think it speaks to how he's kind of uniquely positioned to be successful in the series versus a guy like Wembanyama or Luke Cornett. And I just think it says a lot about who Rob is as a player and the fact that he's healthy. And I think Rob really feels like, I'm back and is confident. He's been so good. And, you talk about when the game gets down to kind of crunch time, Denny throws him that little lob. And Rob has I won't say courage necessarily, but that's not a big deal for Rob. He's been in that situation before. And he's ready to make that play. And I think maybe some other guys might not necessarily be ready in that situation. You got a guy like Drew who, he kind of struggles a bit shooting throughout the game, but he's making plays at the end of the game and he's staying engaged and he's keeping everyone else engaged as well. And it just seems to me that that's one area in this series that the Blazers do have the advantage. I think because the Spurs won so many games this year, there's just this assumption that, well, they've got more leadership, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But it's like, no, the Blazers are the team that actually has the guys who have been in the postseason who are on the team that actually matter. I mean, like the Spurs have some guys who have played postseason basketball, but they're kind of more bit players, I guess. Whereas both Rob and Drew, especially, are like integral to the team and have won championships and have had successful careers already. So I think that's one of the areas where I think you're seeing a little bit of an advantage for the Blazers. And, just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, I think a lot of us in Game 1, the Blazers end up losing that game and the Spurs kind of pull away at the end. But the sense that I got from everyone I talked to about it was like, we're okay. Like, that's actually, yeah, we wish we would have played a little bit better, but even though we didn't play all that well, we still felt like we were right in this thing. We shot 26% from three, but we didn't turn the ball over a lot. We didn't really have a whole lot of second chance points, but we did a pretty good job limiting them on the defensive end. So there were a lot of things in that Game 1 that I think you felt good about and felt like, hey, if we could just do a few things a little bit better, felt pretty good about our chances in Game 2, and it played out in that exact way. Like they turned the ball over a little bit more in Game 2 than they did in Game 1, but they got more second chance points in Games 2 than in Game 1. They did a much better job offensive rebounding in Game 2 than they did in Game 1, and those are kind of the areas the Blazers have generally used in order to be successful during the regular season, and that stuff kind of came back around for him a little bit in Game 2, and Thiago had him ready. I feel like the coaching staff as well has done a really good job in the last month of really just having these guys ready to go. And I think you see what can happen if you kind of stick to your approach and you try to get back to doing some of the things you've done better during the regular season. If you can focus in on those things, you can be successful. And that's what the Blazers were able to do in that game.
What was the total rebounds for both teams in Game 2?
Total rebounds. The Blazers had 43 rebounds in Game 2, and the Spurs had 45 rebounds in Game 2.
I would have thought the opposite. I know those are close, but it felt as though we did a better job rebounding in the Game 2.
Well, we had 15 offensive rebounds compared to 12 offensive rebounds. Mm-hmm. And to your point, offensive rebounds are much more important than defensive rebounds because they create a possession. Mm-hmm. And again, that's something the Blazers need because in the half court, it can get a little dodgy sometimes. They need to create possessions, and offensive rebounding is the best way to do that. And I thought Donovan, he's been kind of low key in this series so far, but he had 5 offensive rebounds in that game, particularly a couple early. And I feel like they got off to a really good start in that game too. Obviously, they jump out to, I think, 22-9. And at that point in time, you're like, Brooke and I have been doing this long enough to know that lead ain't going to last. And sometimes, too, that lead, you're almost like, I don't love that. I'd rather they were up like 22-12 or 15, like, because it's just, I'm not even saying you kind of rest on your laurels or you're like, oh, we got this, but it just changes things a little bit too much. So they obviously got off to a really good start. They're going to need to get off to a good start in Game 3 as well because, again, they're going to need to harness the energy of the building, and to do that, you need to come out and have a good start. So, and
it's I don't know if the word's reassuring, but like you mentioned, DC hasn't really got it rolling yet in terms of offense. I'm just saying, like, there's some guys that haven't had the best games yet, but could. And so I'm thinking of the offense of Jeremy Grant. He's kind of hasn't been able to find his shot. Drew didn't shoot all that well last game. So they're finding ways to win when some of their key scorers aren't scoring, which is a big deal. So it's just something to look forward to when these guys do get it going, and then everyone's on the same page. And you look to Jeremy, he's hitting those corner threes. Matisse, he doesn't shoot a ton, but if, he's on and DC's, killing the offensive boards, quit getting strong putbacks, if they get rolling, then, and everyone's just kind of on the same page. I just think that they could even play at another level that we haven't seen. In Game 2, that was great, but I still think that there's another level that they can get to when guys get going offensively. I'm really looking at Jeremy Grant too, and I know that he's ready for that game. He's chomping at the bit to have a big night offensively.
Well, and to your point, I don't think that the Blazers have had two guys who had a really good game in the same game yet. Mm-hmm. Denny was pretty good in Game 1. Scoot was really good in Game 2. And I thought Rob was great. I thought Drew came on late. I thought Tumani really built some rhythm in that fourth quarter of Game 2 after I felt like he was struggling a bit offensively in the first 7 quarters, which, when your defensive responsibility is guarding a guy who's a foot taller than you, that's going to take it out of you on the offensive end. And obviously we'll talk about Wemby here in a second, but I thought Tumani was really good in the second half of that game. But yeah, there hasn't been two Blazers who have really hit on the same game yet. And if they do, I think you feel really good about your chances in whatever game that is. You mentioned Matisse as well. We got to mention his, I don't think I've ever seen anyone get as much credit for a contest as Matisse is getting for his contest on that last shot, which he absolutely deserves. So, yeah. It was awesome. And I remember when in the game, I was like, damn, Matisse, because also in that instance, you want to defend, but you absolutely 100% cannot foul in that situation. Yep. And going full steam, close out, and having the control to get in the way but not make any contact whatsoever, because if you even graze the guy,
they're looking for it.
You might get sideways. I just thought it was so cool for him to have a play like that. And again, I think it speaks to how this series has gone so far for the Blazers, particularly in Game 2, wherein, you don't have guys who have had great games. I mean, so Matisse played 10 minutes, scored 0 points, went 0 of 3, but made a play in that game that affected the outcome. And I feel like everyone on the team has done that. Shaedon played 13 minutes, scored 9 points. I thought the minutes that he did play, he really gave them something in those minutes. Yes. I felt like he was important in the time that he was out there. I thought that Chris, same idea. He only played 8 minutes, scored a single point, made a few mistakes, but I feel like he did a good job defending when he was out there, was in the places he was supposed to be. Jeremy, you mentioned Jeremy, he did go 1 of 8, and you're right. He just hasn't been able to find his shot just yet in this series, but he's going to, and they're going to need him in this series. And I think sometimes, people, it's so funny to go back and read kind of back through your Twitter feed, particularly now since it's not chronological. You see people's takes about the game out of order, and there's so many what is Thiago doing? And why is this guy still in the game? Why is Drew still in there? And it's guys, because Thiago knows that he's going to need these guys in the fourth quarter in order to have success. And if they're not playing especially well right now, that sucks. But we're going to need them later on, and we have to stick with it. I can't turn my back on a guy because he's not playing well in the moment. We're a team, and we have to stick together as a team, and I have to believe, and not only believe, I have to give them confidence that, maybe it's not working right now. It's going to work eventually, and when it does, we're going to be able to take advantage of it. And I think that Thiago has done such a good job of that. He knows, there's going to be ups and downs, and, Jeremy's going to shoot 1 of 8 from 3. But we're going to need Jeremy at some point in time in this series. So I'm going to ride with him. And yeah, like it'd be awesome if he was making those shots, but I'm confident that it's going to come back around. Oh yeah, and by the way, that happened in the game versus the Suns. He missed a bunch of shots early in that game, and then in the fourth quarter, he won the game for him because they stuck with it. They believed in the process, they believed in the preparation, and they believe in each other. And when you believe in someone, you have to also accept them for who they are. And sometimes that means riding with it when it's not necessarily going super well. So there's a fair amount of courage that goes into that as well, because I think sometimes, particularly in the playoffs, it's like, well, if 6 guys have it going, let's just see if I can win this game with 6 guys. And versus a team like the Spurs, which, to your point, Brooke, have so much talent. I mean, they have the Defensive Player of the Year. They have the Sixth Man of the Year. They've already won 2 of the postseason awards. You're going to need everyone on your team to be available and make a play at some point in time. It's not going to work to just be like, hey, let's see if we can just ride this thing out with the guys who are hitting shots right now. It's going to have to be a whole team effort. And in that game 2, that is what happened. They stuck with it, and it ended up coming back their way. And now they're heading back to Portland with the series tied 1-1.
And I have a ton of friends that are watching right now that, I'll just be honest, don't watch a lot during the regular season. They're maybe not even really basketball fans, but that just texted me. And this is funny. It's like my friend group, like from college. My friend Jackie just texted me. She's like, my son and Sawyer and I are watching. We're just freaking out. And then all of them had said at one point, it's just, they're so happy for each other. It's like such a mom thing to say, but they're all like, they really do like each other, huh? They're just so happy for each other. I was like, yes, it's true. I mean, they play for each other. They all like each other. We've said this numerous times, but all you have to do is watch the end of that game, and you can see. I loved Rob and Denny, embracing, if you will, just the way that they support each other. And to your point, whether they're in or not, if they're from the bench, they're just as dialed into the game as the guys who are playing. It was just awesome to see them so excited, and I was really proud of them. Like I was just sort of like, I kept saying that I'm really proud of them, and then my friends were too like, well, we're so proud of them. I'm like, I know, I am too. I'm like almost crying. I really did tear up a little bit because it was such an emotional couple minutes. I was like, oh no, no, and then yay, and then and I was by myself, so I was just talking to myself the whole time, and them. I was talking to the TV, them, and myself, but it was just emotional, and I was just, it was like, so the relief that when they got that, when it was the last bell rang, I was like, thank goodness that they deserved that. It was just awesome. I can't remember feeling like that for a while. It was just pride.
Yeah. This is kind of dumb, but I wanted to mention it too. And I'd be curious if you kind of noticed it as well. So the first thing I noticed on that alley-oop from Denny to Rob was that Rob lost his headband.
Oh, he did?
And I was like, literally the first thing I thought was, I don't think I've ever seen Rob on the court without a headband before. And that's the first thing I thought. I was like, where does headband go?
Stop the game.
Yeah. Like when I was trying to figure out, like, was that a pass or a floater? And then my second thought was, where's Rob's headband?
Did he get it back?
I don't think he shot the free throw with a headband.
Well, that's why.
And he did miss it.
That's what I'm saying.
I actually, now that I said that, I'm going to go back and check the tape.
I need to know.
If he did miss it without his headband, that's why.
That's why.
It's not that.
That's not his fault.
The other thing I wanted to mention, because this is something I was thinking about when you're talking about, they're down 14. Mm-hmm. And I know for me, there's always this feeling where it's like I have to say, like, well, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not our night. And you're right. Like, well, let's move on to the next one. Part of me wants to think like, no, I should change now. Like, I know that they can come back. They can win these games. Mm-hmm. I should bake that into my, well, that's it. Mm-hmm. But also I feel like I can't change up now.
No.
Like that, what little influence I have in terms of karma and kind of the invisible hand that controls things. I got to stick with my modus operandi, which is to assume they're like, well, that's it. We're not going to win the game now. And then when it turns back around, like that's that's the way it works now. And so it just like, if you wear like a shirt that you always feel like, brings you good luck. At this point in time, now I feel like I'm like, well, now I have to stick with my opinion that like, well, that's it. We're going to lose now. I guess, that's that. So I feel like I have to do my part. I have to continue to not learn from this team rallying in fourth quarters. I just have to stick with my usual pessimism. Like, well, I guess we're not going to win now.
Yeah, no, I have had to break my mom of her thing. I think I've actually talked about it here before, where she will do that, but like in the first quarter. Like someone will hit a really big three. I love to do that's it.
I love to do the thing where I'm like, if they hit this shot, we're going to lose. And I would say if it's late in the second quarter, I might throw that out there. I might be like, if they hit the shot, we're losing.
But she'll do it. Well, I'm like, Mom, the game just started. She's like, well, that was a really big shot. That was it. That's the game. That's the game. That's what she'll always say. So I'm like, Mom, you cannot say that's the game, at least in the first half of anything. You have to at least wait till it's getting closer. And maybe don't even say it at all. Maybe just, because to your point, like, if it's how you feel, like you got to keep it rolling because they're going to show, they're going to prove you wrong.
Exactly.
And so maybe I should let her do that again. But it's just so funny. We'll be laughing like, how many minutes you're giving her till she says that's the game.
Well, but I would also say, too, that you have to tell her not to, because that's also part of the routine.
Oh, that's true.
You have to stick to the routine. I guess all of that gobbledygook was to say you have to stick to the routine.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, I will.
So you got to run it the same way as always. So if we go down in game 3 and she's like, that's that, I'd be like, what? It was so early. Yeah. Like, everyone's got to stick
to what we do. Okay, yeah. I'll tell her. She can do it again.
Let's turn our thoughts to game 3 here a little bit. Game 3 at Moda Center, 7:30 start time. Friday night here in Portland on Prime Video. Make sure you got that thing squared away, Prime Video. We can't be having any issues because this is a big one for Trailblazers fans.
No technical difficulties.
And obviously the big talking point going into Game 3 is the availability of Victor Wembanyama, who sustained a concussion, or at least was in the concussion protocol, after spinning and falling and landing straight on his chin, which is just
as someone who has broke their jaw, I was
right.
like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I was worried about that.
I kind of expected him to come up like spitting a tooth out.
Oh,
because,
something.
Like, and again, it just goes to show how tough these guys are. If that's me, I'm motioning for the stretcher. I'm like, you guys got to carry me out of here. Like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And obviously the NBA has a protocol in place, the concussion protocol, that defines the things you have to do in order to return to the court. And usually that process can take, it's supposed to be like at least 48 hours before you can get back onto the court. Then you have to like ride a stationary bike and not have any symptoms. And then you can be on the court and do some on-court stuff and not have any symptoms. Every step of the way, there's supposed to be an evaluation between, I think, the team's medical staff and the NBA's staff, and then they decide when a player can make his return. If you look at the timeline, Game 3, in theory, is possible. It'd be a pretty quick return. I really want to make it very clear that you shouldn't feel any type of way about Victor Wembanyama coming back and playing, other than if he is cleared and if he does not have a concussion, he should play. If he does still have concussion symptoms, he probably shouldn't play. Just the idea of he shouldn't play, and feeling like you're like, I'm a Blazer fan and Victor Wembanyama shouldn't play because he has a concussion. Not using the protocol as a way to make an argument for why a guy shouldn't play. Concussions are very scary. They can affect your long-term health. The only thing that should matter is whether or not there's any chance of a worse injury or any kind of long-term damage. And if there's not, Victor Wembanyama should play in Game 3.
I feel like everyone feels that way.
I hope so. I guess that's what I'm saying is because when you look, so it's been reported that he is going to travel with the Spurs for Game 3 and 4, which, I mean, that was going to happen regardless, even if he doesn't get cleared to play. Of course, he's going to come with the team at least. You can't travel when you have concussion-like symptoms. You just can't play necessarily. And you click on those tweets, and then you kind of see some of the comments below them. And again, it's untoward and kind of gross if you're a Blazer fan to be like, boy, I hope Victor Wembanyama doesn't play. You know, like it's kind of one of those things a little bit. Like, yeah, does it improve Portland's chances? Absolutely it does. But I'm not even saying that that's not the way you want to win. Injuries are part of the game. It's how it goes. And that's why my point is always about getting into the playoffs. There's always this notion of like, well, we're not going to win, so what's the point? It's like, hey, you don't know how a playoff series is going to play out. Like, again, did anyone think the Pacers were going to go to the finals last year? No.
And we just saw an 8-1 in the first game.
Things happen in a playoff series. And so obviously it's a big deal, but a player's long-term health is more important than anything else. And if he is cleared, like, it's not because necessarily like they're doing the wrong thing. It's because he's cleared. And if he's not cleared, it's not because anyone's trying to hold back the Spurs. It's because he's not cleared. So it's unfortunate for things like that to happen. And again, you just hope for the best because, again, like, a concussion's not like rolling your ankle. Ankle sucks, but, it's not going to necessarily affect your life down the road if, you play on it when it's kind of torn and bruised. Having a concussion and playing, that could be a big deal. And sure. I think the NBA should be commended for having a protocol. I feel like the NBA's concussion protocol is actually a real thing, whereas in some of the other sports, it's like the NFL, it's like they go in a tent and it's like, oh, yeah, no, he's cleared. He can go back out and play. And you see guys have seizures on the field after getting hit, and it's like, that's grotesque. It does seem to me like the NBA is taking those things more seriously and has put player health at more of a premium than maybe some of the other leagues have. And I think you trust them in that process, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I mean, the fact that he's flying, I assumed he was going to do that. I mean,
I would have been shocked if he hadn't.
Right, and he'll be getting the care that that he needs while he's with the team, traveling when he gets to Portland, all that. And I agree with you. If he's good to go, he'll go. If not, he won't. But I don't want to forget that, or don't want everyone to forget again how talented they are when Victor's not on the floor. I mean, different guys every night, but
we've lost the Luke Cornett minutes in both games.
My gosh,
if I'm not mistaken.
I know.
So
yes, Luke Cornett for some reason just balls out when he plays us.
Yeah, I point out people have been like, tell Luke Cornett about all the trip clubs in Portland.
Oh my goodness! But also, you know what I kind of liked? It was the little back and forth with De'Aaron Fox and Denny.
Absolutely.
That was fun.
De'Aaron Fox is getting a little bit of an attitude. Like, he, in the post game talking about it being too physical. And he had a thing with Denny. And then I saw that Scoot and Stephen Castle both kind of had a little bit of a
playoff basketball.
And again, in game 2, it's probably a little bit early to start kind of peeling off that callus. But it's already to the point where, guys seem like they're getting pissy with each other, and it's that again, that's what playoff basketball breeds, and that's why people always talk about you don't really have rivals in the regular season. Rivalries are developed in the playoffs because when you see a team over and over and over again, that's when you start to get annoyed.
Well, then of course, C.J. McCollum, the villain.
The villain, exactly.
I love that. He's like, I'm not a villain. I have a wife of 2 kids, but as Casey and I were talking about before we went on, we know CJ, and he will say he's not, but he thrives in situations like that.
Absolutely.
Those are when he's like, okay, you doubt me, watch me work. And I was so happy for him. I was just beside myself. I'm like, you show him, CJ, you show him. So that was really cool. Again, because I am glued to the TV every night. I watch everything, and I was pleasantly surprised. Not surprised. I mean, I shouldn't say surprised, but I guess I didn't foresee him going off as he did. And but I know he can do that, but I wasn't expecting it, but I was so pumped for him, and that was a great game. And so go CJ, keep it up.
Yeah, no, CJ is one of those guys too, where it's like, he's not going to be rattled in that situation.
No.
CJ has had supreme confidence since he was a junior in high school. So those are the kind of, and again, those are the guys that you need. And sometimes they're taking shots and they're missing, and you're like, why do you keep shooting? It's like, because this is my job. This is what I do. And I believe in myself and my work and what I do enough to I'm going to live with the results too. And that's kind of Dame's thing, is always I'm willing to take those shots because I know that I can make them, but I'm also willing to miss them. And that's the important part, really, is I'm willing to miss the shot that everyone wants you to make. And everyone loves you when you hit it. They don't love you so much when you miss it. And that's the hard part, is dealing with that. Dealing with success is easy. It's dealing with failure that separates good players from great players, because everyone's going to fail at times. And, whatever that saying is, it's this thing called failing is not the falling down, but the staying down. Like, you have to, if you want to be great, you got to get back up. And CJ's one of those guys, he wants to be great, and he's always going to be up.
Yeah. And you got to bet on yourself too. I think it comes down to that. If you're willing to do that, and you, like you said, you're willing to take the miss, but you want it to be you. But I also loved, and I tweeted about this because I'm not kidding, so many walk-off interviews with him after just a spectacular performance. And his first thing, I would say, like, how'd you do it or something, whatever, like a generic question about his performance. And the first thing he would say is, I got to make my effing free throws. Yeah. And I was laughing. I was like, I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that because I know he missed some that he normally would make. But
the Portland Trail Blazers could also stand to make a few more free throws as well. They shot 74%. You got to do a bit better than that. And that's been the thing for the Blazers all year long. And I've just been, I won't say harping on it because I don't have any influence over it, but it has annoyed me that they have not been a little bit of a better free throw shooting team this season.
Well, I'm going to have to hold my thoughts on that until after Sunday's game, where I am shooting free throws for Jamba Juice.
You're doing there is a Jamba Juice near the practice facility. Mm-hmm. The most recent Jamba Juice coupons run through the end of April. So I wasn't getting a Jamba Juice before the team left for San Antonio. And I was talking to the person making them, and I think they know I do something for the team. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I've always one, it's my favorite. It's my favorite in arena game that we do. Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted to I think I said I want to wear the banana costume. I don't necessarily want to shoot the free throws. But then we were talking about the free throws, and then she had mentioned that the owner had maybe shot free throws one time, and you really don't know how hard that is till you're up in front of 20,000 people.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous.
I'm freaking out. Should be nervous. So the fact that I was just talking about that, and that you're going to be shooting the Jamba free throws, Brooke,
I know.
That is have you put in any work yet?
No, I just I tried.
You need to get your ass in the gym.
I said no, and then Bosma informed me that I was not allowed to say no.
Oh, they told you. Okay.
He goes, I go, no, I don't like letting people down. What if a whole section's mad at me or a whole level is mad at me because I don't get the.
Oh, you know who's going to be mad at you? This guy right here. Yeah, no, I need those coupons, Brooke. Those Jamba coupons are important to me.
No, I know, and so I need to. What I was planning on doing is going early tomorrow, before they even shoot, and then maybe on Saturday too, and because I play in the back.
Oh, so you're doing it on Sunday?
Sunday.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you got a little bit of time. Well, no, I just thought it was this next game.
Oh, no, Sunday. Okay. Sunday. But we play with a smaller ball, and obviously the hoop is much lower. So I haven't shot on a regulation with a regulation ball. I mean, maybe a couple times this season before practice started, but I haven't done it for a long time. So I'm going to have to get some reps in for sure.
Well, don't be too proud to shoot underhand if you need to.
Are you nuts? I would never. I played basketball. I would never shoot underhand.
Well, here's the deal. Then you better make those free throws, Brooke, because it's an easier way to do it, and in the fact that
I think it's harder. I don't because I never do it, so it's an awkward feeling.
The physics of the ball going up and then down as opposed to forward.
I'm not going to embarrass my family like that.
I guess what I'm saying is it would be much more embarrassing to fail shooting your own way than it would be to win shooting underhand.
Well, I'm going to win, so
I have confidence in you, Brooke. You're going to do it.
Yeah, because I don't want to feel the wrath of you.
Like I was just saying, we got to stick together in tough times and just assume that our preparation and our work is going to come back around. So,
oh my goodness, yeah, I'm really nervous.
Yeah, you should be. Again, that's a big deal.
Playoffs,
that's a
packed
lot of
house.
people. Yeah. Well, and if and when the Blazers win Game 3 to go up 2-1. Game 4 is going to be huge, and
you're not helping.
I also think it's important to be honest about the stakes and the situation you're going to encounter. It bothers me the idea that like, well, if we just ignore something, it won't happen. No, you gotta contend with reality.
I know I am. I'm all in reality right now, and I'm freaking out. But if I get some reps in and just comes back to me, I'll feel better. So I'm doing that either tomorrow or maybe both Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. No, you're gonna get in a little bit of practice, and you're gonna hit them. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm good.
Thank you.
And you're gonna
Michael Holton
some jambas.
Did it most recently, and I was taking video of him like a proud mom.
Well, Michael Holton, former professional basketball player.
Yeah.
I mean, he and I feel like his first 2 shots I was like, and then he was like, he dialed in, and it was like, no, it took 2 shots for the muscle memory to come back, and then he was like, okay. No,
I saw Michael at Moda the other day. He was having lunch at Dr. Jack's, and so we were walking through the hallway, and we're just chatting, and I happened to tell him, you won't believe this, I'm doing the Jamba Juice free throws. He's like, oh, and he stopped, and he goes, oh, you have to. I was like, well, I tried to get out of it. He's like, no, you have to. He's like, it was the greatest day of my life.
There is something to be said about giving 20,000 people a delicious.
He said everyone was walking up to him,
smoothie. Yeah.
Like, no, thanks for the smoothie, Michael. He's like, I felt like the mayor. Or something like that. It was so.
Well, and especially knowing how much Michael appreciates free food.
Yes.
Like I think
he knew what was the stakes.
Exactly. Like he's going to take that more seriously than someone who doesn't have the same affinity for free food as Michael does. And I can say that because I am the exact same. I feel the exact same. Me and Michael are kindred spirits when it comes to comp food.
Yes.
It's just important to us.
It's important.
Well, that seems like a very good place to end on this edition of the Blazers Balcony, presented by our friends at Spirit Mountain Casino. Once again, Game 3, Trailblazers, Spurs,
Be
Friday,
there.
7:30, Moda Center, Prime Video. Sold out, standing room tickets still available. Maybe by the time you listen to this, they won't be, but you should still go ahead and check out the website. Nevertheless, get to Moda Center for Game 3, and if you're not there for Game 3, at least get there for Game 4. It's a 12:30 start time. Bring the family. You don't have to go to one soccer game. You're going to have to play 5 soccer games this weekend. Just skip one of them to watch the Blazers on Sunday as well. We need all the support we can get.
Absolutely. Go Blazers.
Go Blazers. So for myself, for Brooke, thank you so much. As always, please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Brooke.
Peace out.